To experience restoration, we have to be bold in our confidence in God. There are some things that God is calling us to do. I said some last year, and I'm going to say them again this year. We cannot do what we are doing and expect things to be different. Last year, I challenged our nations to break the old models that we have worked with. We cannot slow march our way into recovery. I challenge every African nation to aim at double-digit GDP growth each year for the next 20 years. We must move from 6% growth, 7% growth, 3% growth, 1% growth, and in very rare cases, no percent growth. I mentioned this to somebody, and he laughed and said, "Is that possible?" I said, "Yes, it's possible. Because even businesses are achieving that." We cannot listen to old experts who were part of those who took us through the door of no return to return us. We must return by our will, by our choice, by our desire. You cannot expect the devil who bound you to release you. If you are bound by demons, you don't go to demons to set you free. You cannot trust the one who oppressed you to deliver you. Whatever common sense makes us feel that those who took us through the door of no return will return us, may God give us a sense of urgency. We will return by ourselves. And for those of you who are desiring God to bless you, you don't expect that the person who destroyed you is the one you can beg to restore you. For too long, we have built our lives around the dreams of the oppressor. In Luke chapter 6, verse 6 to 11, there is a record of a miracle of restoration that Jesus worked for a man whose hand was withered. Luke chapter 6 from verse 6 to 11 says, "Now it happened on another Sabbath day also, that he entered a synagogue and taught. A man was there whose right hand was withered. So the scribes and Pharisees watched him closely, whether he will heal on the Sabbath, that they might find an accusation against him. But he knew their thoughts and said to the man with the withered hands, 'Rise and stand here.' And he arose and stood. Jesus said to him, 'I'll ask you one thing. Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy?' And when he had looked around at all of them, he said to the man, 'Stretch out your hand.' And he did so, and his hand was restored as whole as the other. His hand was restored as whole as the other. His hand was restored as whole as the other. Somebody's life is about to be restored as whole, as whole, as whole, as whole, as whole. But the experts, listen, look, watch their attitude. Verse 11. The experts were filled with rage and discussed with one another what they might do to Jesus. This man had a withered hand. His hand couldn't move. You get the impression it used to move, now it's not moving. It's stuck. The word withered means it's stiff, it's dry, and it's stuck. So it's in one position, he can't stretch it. And nothing seems to work. And he goes to church in the synagogue. Jesus shows up. And there are three interests in this story. There is the man whose hand is withered. He needs to stretch, but he can't stretch. There is Jesus, who has the power to help the man to stretch. And there are the scribes and the Pharisees, who are determined that the man will not stretch. Because according to their law, he chose the wrong day for his recovery. They give the appointment for recovery. It's interesting. They give you an agenda and an appointment for your recovery. And we follow the appointment and the agenda for recovery, but the hand is still stiff. And Jesus is there, and he's about to make the man's hand stretch. And the man is also there. So something has to give. I can almost imagine the tension in the synagogue that day. Jesus, the deliverer, the oppressed, and the oppressor. Something has to give. So Jesus looks to the man and tells him, stand up. In other words, when I'm about to work on your case, you can't be passive. If you want God to do something for you, don't sit and sleep and hope that it will work. You have to stand up. Somebody say, I will stand up. You cannot defeat poverty by sleeping. You have to stand up. You cannot solve that problem by just lying down and hoping it will go away. You have to stand up. Africa, you have to stand up. Jesus says stand up. That's the first thing. But he didn't just say stand up. He says stand here. Now, the Bible only gives us flat words. It doesn't give us pictures. It's not like cinema. It's not like a movie. When you are watching a movie, you see actions, not just the script. The Bible gives a script. It doesn't tell us all the actions going on. So the Bible just says, Jesus says, stand here. But from my point of view, you don't just say, stand here. There must be a here to stand. Because if I say stand here, there is a here. So the here is a specific place. So when Jesus says stand here, he was pointing to a specific place. Because he cannot just say stand here. Where is here? He showed the man where to stand. Get up and stand here. For him to stand here, he had to move from his comfort zone. And he had to stand here. Somebody say, I'm going to stand there. Say, I'm going to stand there. There is a here for me to stand. There is no clarity as to where here was, but using the power of my imagination, I believe Jesus says, stand here right in front of the Pharisees. Because this man has been in the synagogue the whole day looking at Pharisees, looking at the experts. What do they think? What do they want me to do? Jesus says, get up, stand in front of them. Somebody say, I'm going to stand. There is a place for me to stand, and I'm going to stand there. There are 5 questions that this man had to answer. Jesus asked the first one. Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath? Is it the will of God? You cannot change a situation if you think it's God's will for you. If you think poverty is God's will for you, you'll be poor forever. If you think sickness is God's will for you, you will be sick. If you think that drunkenness is God's will, you will be drunkard. If you think failure is God's will, you will fail. So what we have to ask is this God's will for me? Where I am, is this God's will for me? Is it lawful? That's the first thing the man had to answer. Second, he had to believe that even if there are rules that say you cannot heal on the Sabbath, somebody can overrule the rules. And the one who overrules the rules is the ruler. Jesus said, I am Lord of the Sabbath. In other words, the Pharisees cannot use the Sabbath against you because I wrote the Sabbath. And I have come to give you the real Sabbath. The Sabbath is not a day, the Sabbath is a condition. When God gives you rest from your struggles. Today somebody will receive their Sabbath.